in an area in which alcoholic beverages are sold or consumed on the premises. I move to refer these 8 papers to zoning committee.
So motion to refer. Second by Bakhtiari. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote to refer these items to the zoning committee.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. Those items are referred to committee.
That concludes the report of the zoning committee.
Thank you, Deputized Chair Faroki. Next up is Public Safety Legal Administration. Chair Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Item 24-R-3074, item number 1, page 45. This item comes before us with no recommendation on condition that the settlement amount and the caption and operable clauses be consistent with each other. That condition has been met and a substitute was sent out to the body this morning. Motion to bring forth the substitute.
There's a motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Juan. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
I believe Councilmember Juan was the
The
second.
vote is closed. 13 yeas.
How would you like your vote reflected, Mr. Juan?
14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us. If you'd read the caption.
A resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee as substituted by the Atlanta City Council, a resolution authorizing the settlement of all claims against city defendants in the case of Abraham Millsap and Yomali Bradley versus City of Atlanta, civil action file number 24CV0000307, pending in the Superior Court of Fulton County in the total of $6,000.00. The settlement amount authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from General Fund Center number 200101, non-departmental account 5212005, litigation expenses and functional activity number 1512000, accounting and for other purposes.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt as substituted. Is there a second? Second by Shook. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. The item is adopted on substitute. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Next up, City Utilities Committee, Chair Lewis. Mr. Lewis. Oh, Mr. Lewis.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. Good afternoon. Please turn to page 49 of your full council agenda for the standing committee report for the City Utilities Committee for item number 1, 240-1700, item 1, page 49, and an amended ordinance by City Utilities Committee waiving Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4 of the Atlanta City Code to ratify services rendered in connection with the agreement IFBC 1210227, maintenance agreement for preamble pavers with Ed Castro Landscape Incorporated, retroactively effective from December 9th, 2023, through the execution of the second renewal of the term to the first renewal option under the agreement was effective from December 9th, 2023 through December 8th, 2024, to exercise the second renewal option under the agreement retroactively effective from December 9th, 2024 through December 8th, 2025. To add funds to the agreement in an amount not to exceed $400,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes. This item was favorable as amended on condition. The condition was for DWM to provide an explanation of this retroactive renewal. The condition has been satisfied. Motion to adopt.
So motion to adopt coming out of committee. Doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Collins, what is your vote? The vote is closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The item is adopted. Next item.
Number 2250-1006, item number 2, page 49. An ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Carrier Overstreet to amend Chapter 74, Article 14, Section 74605 of the City of Atlanta's Code of Ordinances to provide a definition of the term yard trimmings and to provide that yard trimmings shall be included in the definition of the term litter so that it shall be a violation of the litter control ordinance to throw, dump, sweep, push, blow, deposit, or leave yard trimmings on private property or private property open to the public and for other purposes. This item was favorable on condition. The condition was for the law department to provide a clarification of how expanding the definition of litter to include yard trimmings will be enforced. The condition has been satisfied. Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt coming out of committee. Doesn't need a second, but it's got one. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote, 1 moment. 1 moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Will everyone please vote? Ms. Boone, what is your vote? 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. That item is adopted.
Mr. Council President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Community Development Human Services Committee, Chair Winston. Motion to hold and press to council.
Thank you. I have one paper, which is a resolution 24-R-4601, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $1 million and 0 cents to Hope Atlanta pursuant to section listed of the City of Atlanta's charter to support efforts to prevent displacement, homelessness, and hunger, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation and authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Colleagues, I'd like to make a motion to hold in abreast of council while we figure out the account stream.
Motion by Councilmember Winston to hold, and the rest of council second. First by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Non-debatable. Let's move to a vote. Thank you.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote's closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. That item is held in the breast of council.
Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up, Finance Executive Committee, Chair Shook.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Temp. First item is 24-0-1594. This is the dreaded substitute personnel paper, and there is a new substitute that's been proposed, so let me read that caption. All the captions the same. It's 24-0-1594, substitute ordinance by Atlanta City Council to amend Chapter 114, Personnel Class Plan of the Code of Ordinances, City of Atlanta, Georgia, so as to provide for certain position abolishments, creations, reclasses, class creations, above entry authorizations, employee position transfers, position funding, allocation changes, and other personnel actions in line with the 2025 budget. And for their purposes, I'll move to bring the substitute forward.
Motion made for the substitute, second by Councilmember Juan. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Sorry, I'm coming.
The vote is closed. 14 yeas, 0 nays.
14 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us.
All right, so you've been copied on the short list of proposed changes. I do have a question for our CFO, just to confirm that these changes were properly vetted by both HR and your department.
No, we have not had time to review these in full detail yet.
You haven't? No?
Haven't.
All right, so the list of proposed changes I've received, which is, I assume, the same document you're looking at, has evidently not been reviewed by the finance department. Is that correct?
He's asking you to reconfirm you haven't reviewed these.
No, we have not reviewed them yet.
Would it be the proper course then to not consider these and take up the substitute that originally came before this body then and vet the subsequent changes?
Correct. Any
later?
subsequent changes should probably be referred to FEC committee so we can have time to dissect them in more detail.
In that case, I will move approval of the original substitute that appeared on our agenda.
So indeed, we need to make a motion to reconsider bringing forth the current substitute. I'll entertain that motion. Motion to reconsider the vote to bring forth the substitute by Bakhtiari, second by Dozier. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, please open up the vote on the motion to reconsider.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Councilmember Shook, how would you like your vote reflected?
It's a yay. We're correcting you.
Councilmember Lewis
And Boone
is not here.
is.
Councilmember Boone?
Boone is showing yay.
Councilmember Boone?
13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The original item is now before us.
Move approval.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Shook. I don't think it needs a second. Is there any discussion? But we're going to get one just in case. Is a second from Councilmember Juan. Any discussion on the motion to approve the original legislation in front of us? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Boone is on. Will everyone please vote? Councilmember Collins, what is your vote?
Councilmember Boone would like to be reflected in the affirmative. So 13 yeas, 0 nays. The item is adopted.
Thank you. Our next item also
13 yeas, 0 nays.
Also requires a substitute. It's 2501007. I'll read the substitute caption. This is an ordinance by Shook, is substituted by the Atlanta City Council, authorizing a donation in a total amount not to exceed $20,000 from the council president carry-forward account to various nonprofit organizations to support park improvements, authorizing the transfer of $30,000 from the council president carry-forward accounts to the Department of Parks and Rec to support parks improvements in each council district pursuant to the the charter section indicated here, and for other purposes. Motion to bring the substitute forward.
Got a motion to bring substitute forward, second by Councilmember Juan. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open.
Thank you.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before us.
And this came forward favorable on condition of receiving a substitute that completed the amounts and organization names, and that is in fact the nature of the substitute, so I'll move approval of substitute.
Got a motion on the floor to approve on substitute, second by Councilmember Juan. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The item is adopted on substitute.
Lastly, 25R3005 is a resolution by Ms. Overstreet authorizing the reemployment of retiree Camille Love as a senior policy advisor in the Office of Cultural Affairs pursuant to the charter section, which is listed here, for a period not to exceed 520 business days. Compensation will be charged to and paid from the FDOs and account numbers as listed in an amount not to exceed $62,720, and for other purposes, motion is to file.
It's a motion coming out of committee to file. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open that vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Ms. Collins, what is your vote? Thirteen yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. That item is filed.
That concludes our report, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Chair Shook. An oversight on my part. The Transportation Committee did not have a report, so Mr. Amos, if you'd like to say that a second time for the record.
Yes, I was feeling offended, but I like to say, yes, we do not have a report. Thank you.
No report. Thank you very much. Next up, we're moving to items for immediate consideration, of which I believe at this point there are none. That takes us to items to be referred per how we do things when I get to stand here. We're going to go old school. I'm not going to call on you if you want to come hop up in line and present your papers. We will start things off with Ms. Overstreet.
Thank you. Elms ID number 37232, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Atlanta Police Department provide an update on the study performed by Georgia Institute of Technology concerning the feasibility of adding one or more zones to the city's public safety coverage and for other purposes. Oh, Marcy Collier Overstreet and Chair Boone.
What's the Elms ID?
Elms ID 37232.
It's going to go to Elms ID 37232 to Public Safety Legal Administration.
Thank you. Elms ID 37224, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on the eastern side of Tail Road Southwest near the intersection of Tail Place Drive Southwest and the western side of Tail Road Southwest, near the intersection of River Pine Trail Southwest in order to reduce speeding and for other purposes.
We know exactly where those devices are going.
That's right.
Elms ID 37224 to Transportation.
Elms ID number 37157, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet to retroactively extend the due date by which the Procurement Task Force, Reform Task Force shall provide written recommendations pursuant to the Resolution 22-R-3712 through June 30th, 2025, to amend the scope of the comprehensive review to be undertaken by the Procurement Reform Task Force to an examination of the issues raised concerning minority contract participation raised in the performance audit report on the Office of Contract Compliance accepted and filed by the Atlanta City Council on November 18, 2024, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 37157 to FEC.
Elms ID number 37218, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet authorizing a donation in the amount not to exceed $75,000.00 from the accounts listed herein to Cascade Springs Nature Preserve pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute a donation agreement and for other purposes.
Elms ID 37218 to CDHS.
Thank you. Only have two papers today. Elms ID number 37228, a resolution by Councilmember Lilian Bakhtiari and Antonio Lewis calling for a moratorium on the clearing of encampments until such time that procedures can be reviewed and updated to ensure the safety of residents, requesting a report from the Atlanta Continuum of Care on the procedures and practices around encampment clearing, requiring publishing to the public of the findings of the report and for other purposes.
37228 to CDHS.
Elms ID number 37229, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, Councilmembers Collins, Bond, Boone, Overstreet, Norwood, Westmoreland, Shook, Wan, Dozier, Winston, and Amos. A resolution expanding the East Atlanta Village Homelessness Outreach Program to more effectively address homelessness across Atlanta neighborhoods, to direct the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to allocate funding to expand the program and for other purposes.
37229 to CDHS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready? All right, Elms 37227, an ordinance by council members Juan, Bakhtiari, and Westmoreland authorizing a donation in amount not to exceed $2,500.00 to Outfront Theater pursuant to Section 6306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter and for other purposes.
37227 to FEC.
37226, an ordinance by council members Westmoreland, Faroki, and Juan authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $3,000.00 to the Midtown High School Robotics Team pursuant to Section 6306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter and for other purposes.
37226 to FEC.
Thank you.
Elms 37180, resolution by Shook authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to the Cooperative Technical Assistance Intergovernmental Cost Sharing Agreement between the City of Atlanta, Cobb County, Marietta Water Authority, DeKalb County, the Atlanta Fulton County Water Resources Commission, and Gwinnett County and the Atlanta Regional Commission on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to extend the term of the agreement for a period of 6 months, authorizing the mayor as designee to enter into a new cooperative technical assistance intergovernmental cost-sharing agreement between those governments to fund technical and legal research related to water supply in an amount not to exceed $675,000, all contracted work to be charged to and paid from, et cetera.
37180 to City Utilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. I have Elms ID 37184, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to the grant May 230-9124 Emergency Food and Shelter Program, grant 10D with Inspiritus Incorporated, Kroger grant told with, Emergency Food and Shelter Program grant T01E with the International Rescue Committee, and grant May 230-9124 Food and Shelter Program grant with the Hispanic Alliance of Georgia on behalf of the Mayor's Office of International and Immigrant Affairs to revive the extended term of each agreement for 5 months and to add additional funding in an amount not to exceed $719,088.86. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the organization account amount listed therein and for other purposes.
Helms ID 37184 to FEC.
I now have Elms ID 37185, a resolution by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, a resolution to authorize the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Mayor's Office of International and Immigrant Affairs to execute the subrecipient agreement in connection with the Shelter and Services Program grant funded by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, with the following subrecipients: Frontline Response International Incorporated, in an amount not to exceed $929,063.40, and Latino Community Funds in the amount not to exceed $170,200.00, for a total not to exceed amount $1,063,263.43. All amounts to be paid from the FEMA grant funds for the purpose of providing shelter and other services to non-citizen immigrants recently released by the Department of Homeland Security in custody in the city of Atlanta. For all contracted work should be charged to and paid from the account amounts listed herein and for other purposes.
37185 to FEC.
And finally, we have Elms ID 37192, an ordinance by Councilman Michael Julian Bond, authorizing the mayor, his designee, on behalf of the city of Atlanta to execute an agreement granting the Atlanta Development Authority, doing business as Invest Atlanta, as an option to purchase the city's interest in the property located at 1029 McDaniel Street, Southwest Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, 303-110, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary to consummate such a transaction and for other purposes.
37192 to CDHS.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pro Temp. Elms ID 37199, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Winston, authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience the additional Bloomberg American Sustainability Cities Grant Award of $120,000.00 to fund expenses related to the BASC grant accepted pursuant to the ordinance listed for purposes of developing an innovation strategy and a citywide vision for driving progress at the intersection of racial, wealth, equity, and climate action, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements in connection with the acceptance of the grant, to authorize the amendment of the fiscal year 2025 intergovernmental grant fund budget by increasing anticipations and appropriations by $120,000.00, using account numbers as determined by the chief financial officer and for other purposes.
37199 to FEC.
Elms ID 37233, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston establishing a City of Atlanta Homelessness Task Force in accordance with this Section 3-401 of the City of Atlanta's Charter, which shall be charged with the examination of the city's current policies and procedures utilized to address issues surrounding persons experiencing homelessness, to determine whether these policies and procedures adequately address the current needs of persons experiencing homelessness and the public safety concerns of residents and visitors to the City of Atlanta, and which shall be charged with making written recommendations to the mayor and the Atlanta City Council in regards thereto, to establish that this task force shall hold no fewer than 4 public meetings and shall make its report to the mayor and the City of Atlanta Council no later than 90 months from the approval of this resolution and for other purposes.
37233 to CDHS.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dozier.
All right, good afternoon, y'all. Just apologies in advance, there's a lot of numbers in this one. Elms ID number 37191, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a lease agreement with Healy Partners LLC for the lease of 10,394 square feet of property located at 57 Forsyth Street Northwest, Suites 200, 215, 222, 240, and 250, Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, 30303, for a lease term of 88 months, commencing on July 1st, 2025, and ending on November 30th, 2032, authorizing a rental rate of $12.00 per square foot, or $83,152.00 for the first year, and increasing by no more than 3% per square foot per year thereafter, waiving Article 10, Section 2-1546 of the Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, authorizing the expenditure to be charged to and paid from 1001 General Fund and for other purposes.
37191 to FEC.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Amos.
Yes, sir. Thank you. AMS 37231, ordinance by Council. Amos, ordinance to find and declare the City of Atlanta Tax Allocation District Number 2, Atlantic Steel Brownfield, is substantially complete based on achievement of the significant objectives of the Atlantic Steel Brownfield redevelopment plan. To find and declare that all redevelopment costs have been paid, to direct and cause the dissolution of the City of Atlanta Tax Allocation District Number 2, Atlantic Steel Brownfield, to cause any funds remaining in the Atlantic Steel Brownfield TAD special fund to be paid to Fulton County, Atlanta Public Schools, and the city in proportion to the respectful total contributions each jurisdiction made to the fund and for other purposes.
37219 to FEC. Thank you. Mr. Prokey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One paper, Elms ID 37225, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki, waiving Article 10, Division 4 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to authorize an amendment to the agreement with Clayhouse Public LLC to increase the annual not-to-exceed amount to $88,000.00, retroactively effective to January 1, 2025, and for other purposes.
37225 to FEC. Ms. Collins or Ms. Boone?
ELMS ID number 37193, an ordinance by council members. By Ishay Collins, authorizing the city of Atlanta to execute a quitclaim deed conveying the city's interest in a .20 acre portion of the former A.D. Williams Elementary School located at 0 James Jackson Parkway and land lot 259 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel ID 170259LL1647 to the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, to support the redevelopment of the Bowen Homes Choice neighborhood, of the Bowen Choice neighborhood project, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city to execute such quitclaim deeds and all other necessary documents to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, to waive certain provisions of the Procurement and Real Estate Code, City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Article 10, and for other purposes.
From the former A.D. Williams teacher, Elms number 37193 to CDHS.
Yep, that was, yep. All right, there you go. ELMS 37196, an ordinance by Councilmember Ishay Collins to rezone from PD-MU to PD-MU for a change of conditions for property located at 2030 Bolton Road Northwest, commencing at a point at the intersection of the easterly right-of-way line of James Jackson Parkway and the northerly right-of-way line of Bolton Road, and for other purposes.
37196 to Zoning Committee.
All right, great. And the last one that I have is ELMS ID 37177, a resolution by Councilmember Ishay Collins, a resolution authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate an amount not to exceed $85,000.00 to the 21st Century Leaders Incorporated pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta Charter to provide micro grants to young people ages 14 to 24 years to design, produce, and implement climate solutions in the City of Atlanta, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
37177 to City Utilities.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Boone, take us home.
Thank you. A resolution by Councilmember Andrea Boone, a resolution requesting that the Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizens Review Board, ACRB, prepare a written report to be transmitted to the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee by no later than the commencement of its meeting on February 24th, which shall include information concerning the activities of the ACRB, including but not limited to a response regarding the public allegations that the ACRB has failed to act in accordance with the duties assigned concerning the investigation of deadly uses of force in order to promote transparency, accountability, and justice, and to provide an ability for the Atlanta City Council to consider whether a strategic legislative overhaul shall be necessary to expedite the conclusion of critical ACRB investigations, directing the municipal clerk to prepare a report on the status of the appointments to the ACRB, including whether any of the seats are currently vacant or any of the memberships are serving in expired terms to be transmitted to the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee by no later than commencement of its meeting on February 24th to support the Atlanta City Council's desire to ensure the ACRB is fully functioning such that it shall be able to perform in accordance with the duties and responsibilities bestowed thereon and for other purposes.
37234, Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee.
Elms ID number 37230, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city of Atlanta to execute a right-of-way deed to the Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT, to dedicate a sidewalk consisting of approximately 0.34 acres of land over a portion of city-owned property located at 2175 ML King Jr. Drive, Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel ID number 1401800020795 to be made a part of GDOT's right-of-way along Martin Luther King Jr. State Route 139, waiving and conflicting provisions of Article Division 14, Subdivision 111 of the Atlanta City Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Elms ID 37230 to FEC.
Elms ID number 37171, a resolution by Councilmember Andrea Boone appointing Mr. Christopher Brown to the Atlanta Citizens Review Board for a term of 3 years, said term to begin upon approval of this resolution and for other purposes.
37171 to Public Safety Legal Administration.
Elms ID number 37183, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an amendment number 3 to add the Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department, AFRD, as authorized users, to list funding streams for authorized users, and to add additional funding to the annual contract and to exercise the third renewal option for agreement SPS 1220052 APD Background and Recruitment File Automation System with Guardian Allowance Technologies, Inc. on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department for a term of 1 year effective February 2nd, 2025 through February 1st, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $108,500.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
37183 to Public Safety Legal Administration.
An ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone to amend Chapter 114 Personnel Classification Plan of the Code of Ordinances, City of Atlanta, Georgia, so as to provide for certain position abolishments, creations, reclassifications, class creations, above entry authorizations, employee position transfers, position funding allocation changes, and other personnel actions in line with the FY 2025 budget for the Citizens Review Board and for other purposes. The City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances amended as follows.
What's the Elms ID?
37235.
37235. I'm going to send that to Public Safety Legal Administration Committee. Yeah.
This paper will add 4 additional investigators to the Atlanta Citizens Review Board. We are in a crisis situation.
Public Safety Legal Administration. One quick clarification, Elms ID 37230 is going to go to Transportation as opposed to FEC. Any other papers? All right, seeing none, that takes us to the general remarks portion of our agenda. Are there any? Yes, sir. Mr. Bond.
Just wanted to wish my favorite auntie a very happy birthday, Miss Barbara Clopton, and also wish her a speedy recovery. I just want to also point out that even though we're post-pandemic, we're not post-respiratory ailments. And so we still need to take precautions, particularly those who are in affected populations, like those with compromised immune systems and children, and of course, elderly citizens. And so just on that note, wanted to wish her a speedy recovery. And of course, we love you, Barbara. Hope you get well soon.
Thank you. Ms. Bakhtiari.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment because a lot of members in my community, a lot of my constituents have reached out about this issue. Obviously, we've seen the executive orders coming down from this presidential administration fighting for mass deportations. I want to thank Councilmember Bond for the paper he read in for the Latino Community Fund. For anyone who is looking for resources, I urge you to look to the Latino Community Fund of Georgia. They have great advocacy programs. They have incredible people on their staff. They're putting out amazing resources, but I've had a number of people reach out. So if you are somebody that is threatened by the current executive orders coming down or know someone who is, please, please, please refer them to LCF as a resource. Thank you.
An incredible staff indeed. Any other remarks? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the adjourning roll call.
We have Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, Post 1 at Large. Here. Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at Large.
Here.
Councilmember Ishay Collins, Post 3 at Large. Councilmember Jason H. Winston, District 1. Councilmember Amir Faroki, District 2. Councilmember Byron D. Amos, District 3. Here. Councilmember Jason Dozier, District 4. Here. Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, District 5.
Still here.
Councilmember Alex Wan, District 6. Councilmember Howard Shook, District 7. Councilmember Mary Norwood, District 8. Councilmember Andrew L. Boone, District 10. Councilmember Marcy Colley Overstreet, District 11. Councilmember Antonia Lewis, District 12.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are adjourned.